Importing AAF and OMF files is a really great process when you're working inside of your digital audio workstation. One of the reasons why is because the process of importing these types of files allows you to actually transition between different applications while maintaining a lot of the edits that are happening in the actual timeline. So instead of it just importing just audio or just MIDI, it's actually bringing in files with data written such as edit points, sync timing, crossfades. So the edits can actually stay live as you move from digital audio workstation to maybe a video editor and back. The piece about that you don't know is that is not typically normal. For a lot of the software companies that are out there, they're designed in a way where like if you build stuff in Pro Tools, it really stays in Pro Tools. It's really hard to move it and out of Pro Tools to work into a different DAW. So AAF and OMF are the only ways that we really get to do that. So let's take a look. If I can actually import from here or build an AAF. But a lot of times, like the easiest way to do it is I'm actually going to find an AAF in my Finder. And so a good way to do it is I'm just going to find one. I have a couple of samples on here. But if I go grab the Love is for Christmas AAF and just right-click it and open with Pro Tools. I could also open with Logic or any other DAW that I have on my system, but I'm just going to show Pro Tools real quick so you can just see it. What's great about this is it gives me a couple different opportunities here. One, if I actually want to transition this sample rate, I can. I can also change a couple things about the bit depth. I can rename it. Now's the time to do that. It's going to create that session, and it's going to place it somewhere. Right now I already have it in this folder, but actually what I'm going to do just temporarily is I'll throw it to the desktop just so that it gets separated there. And then it brings me all this wonderful information. And that's where this stuff really gets cool. It's going to show me time code, if there's any video in it. It's also going to, because we're transitioning, this was an 88.2K session, it's going to move down to a 44.1. And then we can actually pick and choose which tracks we want to bring in. This is going to look a lot like bringing in the session data when we do it from Pro Tools, except that this is actually coming from a different audio workstation. So that is why it's so important, because we can move things back and forth between things like Logic, or Premiere, or any of those other software pieces that we want that are at a professional level. In this instance, I'm just going to put everybody on a new track. And then I can bring in, some important pieces here of the data that are important to me. And you can see clip gain, volume, all this kind of stuff, markers. And then we hit OK. It's going to process. It should just zip right through it pretty quickly. And it's going to locate, and then it's going to save. The one thing I mentioned in a different video in regards to this is that the track names are on the actual clips themselves. But in the export files, they're not. And so when you actually get into the AAF folder itself, it gets a little messy until you get it back in here into a DAW. And so look, you can see this layout came out great. You can actually see it came in with edits that are still there. Everything matches up to the timeline. Everything's on the, importing at the moment, and audio should play. Once we push play, we should start getting a bunch of stuff. But you can see again, this is a nice way to do it because it keeps all the edits intact. And if we wanted to specify certain things in the edit, and do it from Pro Tools, it gives us a clear advantage. So one example that I use this every now and then in this kind of scenario with is when I'm working in a video editor and I have audio. A lot of times I prefer to work with my audio in Pro Tools because I'm going to work faster in terms of editing and cleaning up. And so sometimes it's just kind of nice after the audio tracks are built in the video editor to sling it back as an AAF to Pro Tools so that I could work out the edit process and then bring it back in. Now, not everything else is there, so you notice it just takes a few moments to come in. But let's just take a quick listen to this. Now, Now, this is not mixed in any way, so these stems are just coming out of and going into, so that's why you're kind of hearing some imbalance in there. But that's pretty much it. And then once you save, this will start to save those particular things direct to the folder that we're in. And that's it.